The cameras rolled as they always did. The audience lights warmed the studio, and the familiar music faded beneath applause that had echoed through these walls for decades. Yet something about this morning felt subtly different from the very beginning. It wasn't dramatic or obvious, just a quiet shift in energy that longtime viewers instinctively sensed. Kelly Ripa walked onto the stage with her trademark smile, polished and professional. But there was a softness in her eyes that suggested a deeper awareness, as if she were fully present in a way that felt new. Mark Consuelos followed beside her, steady and reassuring, greeting the crowd with warmth, though his voice carried a gentler tone than usual. The show hadn't even begun, and already there was a feeling that this episode would move at a different pace, guided less by routine and more by reflection. The silence. Before the familiar banter. Normally, the opening moments were filled with playful exchanges and light-hearted teasing, but this time there was a pause, unplanned and unspoken, that lingered just a few seconds longer than expected. Kelly rested her hands on the desk, fingers interlaced, grounding herself, while Mark glanced toward her with quiet attentiveness. The audience settled, sensing that this was not a technical delay, but a human one. When Kelly finally spoke, her voice was calm yet thoughtful, as though she were choosing each word carefully. There was no script driving the moment, no rush to entertain. Instead, there was space, and in that space, viewers felt invited into something more personal than a typical morning show opening. Speaking to the people who grew up with her, Kelly looked out across the studio and beyond it, toward the millions of people who had shared their mornings with her for years. She spoke not as a host delivering lines, but as someone acknowledging a long, shared journey. She talked about time, about how quickly it passes, and how remarkable it feels to realize that a television show can become woven into the rhythms of people's lives. Her words carried gratitude rather than finality, appreciation rather than announcement. For a moment, the studio felt less like a set and more like a gathering of familiar faces, united by years of laughter, routines, and quiet companionship over coffee. A career built on consistency and care. Kelly reflected on what it means to show up day after day, year after year, carrying energy and warmth even on mornings when life feels heavy behind the scenes. She acknowledged that consistency is often invisible work, something viewers come to expect without thinking about the effort it requires. There was no complaint in her voice, only honesty. She spoke about loving what she does while also recognizing the toll that constant visibility can take. How being present for millions requires learning how to protect parts of yourself quietly, without resentment. Mark listened attentively, letting her lead the moment, offering presence rather than interruption. Mark's quiet role in the moment. When Mark did speak, it was with the calm steadiness viewers had come to associate with him, reinforcing the sense of partnership that anchored the show. He spoke about admiration, about watching someone commit themselves fully to their work, while still striving to remain grounded in family and real life. His words didn't redirect attention away from Kelly, but instead framed her reflections with respect and understanding. It was clear that this wasn't about a sudden change or dramatic revelation, but about acknowledging the emotional weight that comes with longevity, responsibility, and care. The studio's gentle stillness. The audience, usually quick to laugh or applaud, remained quietly attentive, absorbing the tone of the conversation. Some nodded, others smiled softly, and a few wiped away tears that came not from sadness, but recognition. The absence of spectacle made the moment more powerful. No dramatic music swelled, no montage rolled. Instead, the stillness itself became meaningful, allowing viewers to connect the words on screen to their own experiences with work, commitment, and the slow realization that time deserves to be noticed rather than rushed through. Reflection without finality. Kelly was careful to frame her thoughts not as an ending, but as an awareness. She spoke about how important it is to periodically check in with yourself, to ask whether you're still present in the life you're living, or simply moving through it on autopilot. Her message wasn't about stepping away or making sudden changes, but about listening inwardly before exhaustion speaks louder than intention. It was a reminder that reflection is not a sign of dissatisfaction, but of respect for the life you've built. Why viewers felt it so deeply. The reason the moment resonated so strongly was because it touched something universal. Most people know what it feels like to carry responsibility for a long time, to meet expectations consistently, and to do so with care even when they feel stretched thin. Kelly's words gave language to that experience without dramatizing it. She didn't frame herself as overwhelmed or unhappy, but as aware. That distinction mattered. It allowed viewers to feel seen without feeling alarmed, connected without being worried. The balance between public and private life. Kelly acknowledged the unusual reality of living a life that is partially public, where personal milestones often unfold in front of an audience. She spoke about learning where to draw lines, how to remain open without feeling exposed. Mark added that partnership plays a vital role in that balance, offering stability and grounding when the outside world feels loud. Together, their conversation modeled what it looks like to navigate visibility with intention, maintaining authenticity without surrendering privacy. Gratitude as the central theme. Throughout the conversation, gratitude surfaced again and again, not as a closing note, but as a foundation. Kelly thanked viewers for their loyalty, their kindness, and the way they had allowed her to grow and change without demanding perfection. She spoke about how meaningful it is to be invited into people's homes each morning, even in such a simple way. The gratitude felt earned and mutual, a recognition that the relationship between a show and its audience is built slowly, through trust and consistency rather than moments of drama. A moment that didn't need explaining. One of the most powerful aspects of the morning was that it didn't resolve into a clear headline. There was no announcement, no countdown, no sense of urgency. Instead, there was an understanding that some moments exist simply to be felt. The show continued, easing gently back into its familiar rhythm. But the tone remained softer, more intentional. Viewers didn't need answers, because what they had been given was perspective. The impact. Beyond the broadcast. After the episode aired, conversations unfolded quietly across social media and in living rooms. People didn't ask what was ending. They talked about what resonated. Many shared stories of their own careers, routines, and moments of pause when they realized life was moving quickly around them. Kelly's reflection became a mirror rather than a message, encouraging thought rather than speculation. Why? This wasn't a goodbye. It's important to understand that the moment wasn't about departure, but about presence. Kelly didn't step away from her role. She stepped into awareness. By doing so, she modeled something rare in public life: the ability to acknowledge emotional truth without turning it into spectacle. The show remained what it had always been, but with a renewed sense of intention woven into its familiar structure. Choosing meaning over momentum. Kelly's reflections gently challenged the idea that success must always be measured by momentum alone. She spoke about meaning, about choosing moments of stillness even within busy lives. That message resonated deeply because it offered permission, not instruction. It reminded viewers that pausing to reflect does not mean losing direction. It often clarifies it. Mark and Kelly as a team. Throughout the episode, the partnership between Kelly and Mark stood quietly at the center. There was no overt display of emotion, just mutual respect, timing, and trust. Their dynamic showed how support doesn't always require words, how presence itself can be grounding. It reinforced why their connection felt authentic to viewers. It wasn't performative, it was lived in. The strength of staying human on camera. In an industry that often rewards polish over honesty, the morning stood out because it allowed humanity to breathe. Kelly didn't abandon professionalism. She expanded it to include reflection. That choice demonstrated strength rather than vulnerability, reminding viewers that being human on camera doesn't diminish credibility, it deepens it. What viewers took with them. By the time the episode ended, viewers weren't left with concern or confusion, but with a sense of calm reflection. The broadcast became less about what had happened, and more about what it inspired. People carried the feeling forward into their own days, perhaps lingering longer over coffee, calling someone they love, or simply noticing the moment they were in. A quiet reminder. About time. At its heart, the morning served as a gentle reminder that time is both generous and fleeting. Kelly's words didn't warn or instruct. They invited awareness. In doing so, she offered something more lasting than entertainment. A shared pause, a moment of recognition, and a reminder that presence is one of the most valuable things we can give to our lives and to one another. Not an ending, but a deepened connection. As the cameras faded out and the studio lights dimmed, what remained wasn't a sense of closure, but of continuity. The show moved forward, and so did its audience, carrying with them a deeper understanding of the people they invite into their mornings. It wasn't the end of a chapter, but a moment that enriched the story, reminding everyone that even within routine, there is room for meaning, honesty, and quiet human truth.